Okay, so I gotta tell you what oh so intricate wrote on Twitter, and it says, apparently some people can have a thought like, I need to do this, and then they actually have no problem getting up and doing it. What a weird way to live. How strange. Wonder that would be like. Welcome to Positively Lost. I'm Cammie.
I'm Taylor.
Let's start with you this week. What made you happy this week?
Sleeping.
Did you get to sleep?
I got to sleep on Friday.
But really, like, that's all that made you happy this week? Your kids are funny. Like, what's something funny they did? Tell me something funny.
I don't know. They're mean to me. They just tell me how much they...
Eli's hilarious. What did Eli do this week?
I know. He does always say funny things.
And Reagan does, like, the sweetest things all the time, too.
She does. I don't know.
So what made you sad this week?
Okay. So this is going to be so stupid because it has nothing to do with my life or anything.
But it made you sad?
I guess it didn't make me sad. It just made me frustrated. And again, you're going to make so much fun of me. So, actually, this kind of made me happy too. It's a show, the show Love is Blind, season 3 on Netflix. And it's where people just kind of meet they get engaged without seeing each other. They just talk. And
I don't like that. Okay.
But they like talk in these pods for like 10 hours a day for 10 days. And then they get engaged to whoever they like felt the most connected with. And they say they're in love. That makes
such a mockery of relationships, but okay.
But it's supposed to be like better than The Bachelor and Bachelorette and stuff like that because they're falling in love based on personalities rather than
looks.
So
animalistic emotions.
Yeah.
Okay.
So one couple that I was super rooting for ended up getting married, and I love them. But then there was this other couple, and I was totally rooting for the girl at first. But then she just seemed not very nice.
Okay.
And, like, the guy did some really stupid things. And so I'm like, oh, I hope she says no. Like, he seems like a jerk. But then in the end, I just felt bad for him because, like, he was childish, he was immature, but he was hilarious. And he did want to try and make her happy. And she just tore him apart all the time.
Aww.
And then she tried, like, saying that he shattered her self-esteem, which, I mean, everyone's entitled to their feelings, and I wasn't there, so I can't say. But she used a specific example that they ended up showing. In this specific example, she brought up how she was eating 2 oranges, and he was like, are you sure you're going to eat all that? But then they ended up showing the thing, and all he said was like, oh, just make sure not to get too full because we have dinner tonight. And she's like, well, this is all I've eaten today. And he's like, oh, but I offered you a full poke bowl for lunch. So it's like she didn't bring up the fact that he offered her lunch. She didn't bring up the fact that like he was just like, oh, just remember we have dinner tonight. Like, and she's like, he made me feel fat. It's like
Mike's always like, do you want another slice of that? Like, after I've already had like 5 slices of pumpkin pie or
something. The thing is, like, he offered her a full lunch. Like, so it's not like he was trying to keep her from eating. So I was just like, girl.
She probably already has something in her head that makes her like concerned about that stuff.
But she was putting it on him, which made me feel bad. And he was like crying at the reunion. And he's like, I'm so sorry that I made you feel that way. And he still was like, I think the editing just made you look a lot more mean than you are. Like, than you were ever. He's like, you weren't ever mean to me. Like, you weren't this.
Yeah.
And he was like so nice to her. And she was just like, well, you did this to me and you did this. And blah, and just being mean. And
well, she might have had more time to like fester about it without like actually thinking about it. That's awesome though.
But yeah, I was trying to think of something.
Sad?
Yeah, I was trying to think of...
But that's good, though, that something else made you sad.
I was trying to think of something else since you said I'm always the same. So what made you really happy this week?
I don't know what made me really happy this week because a lot of things made me really happy. So Deegan at his soccer game was, like, just kind of puttering around playing with his shirt and stuff because he gets a little lost. He doesn't know, like, where to put himself in, where to insert himself. And he's very new at this. And my kids aren't necessarily like the athlete type, but I feel like they have the potential to be athlete types. And even mom was like, Dean does really good. Like, she's like, I'm really surprised at how much he's put himself out there. Because he's starting into soccer later than most people are. Most kids have already started at the age of 6, as opposed to some of these kids have been playing since they were 3. But I was like trying to like give him positive tips, like to help him, but I just frustrated him. And I was really sad about that. And then I was like, oh, God, it's all my fault. So, because then he had less motivation than he did before. And I was like, oh, darn it. And so he came back and I was like, you know what? I just apologized to him. And like, I was like, glad I apologized to him. And I just said, you know what? It's my fault, buddy. I got in your head and I frustrated you. I wasn't yelling at him or anything. I was just trying to give him tips because I want him to focus more on footwork. And he's trying so hard to just focus on like being able to kick a ball and drive it far. And I said, just worry more about your feet work and just getting that ball and stopping it and getting it in the right direction. But that frustrated him. And so I just kind of apologized to him. And then he went out there and he started doing that. Exactly. And so like he stopped it sometimes and redirected it, or he got himself in there to like try and be in the game. And like he did awesome.
I love that.
He's really come really far. But that was good. That made my day when he went out and started like getting in there and all that. But and then I think the pinnacle too was just really like, I loved it when Jennifer and Jeanette came over. It was nice too for me because Mike just took the kids away and just had them leave us alone so we could talk and just hang out. It was just kind of like, and I guess that was kind of the sad thing for the week was the reason why Jennifer came over was because she was crying because of Dad. So that was, I think, the hard thing for the week.
Since it has been exactly, well, on Thursday, it was exactly 3 years since our dad passed away.
Okay, so this week our topic is motivation. And the definition are, in our case, lack of motivation. And we can talk about like whys, the hows, what people tell us to do. We can even play devil's advocate and talk about why the things that people tell us to do to help us doesn't help us. Or maybe it would. It's just, we just want to be obstinate. But so motivation is the reason or reasons one has for acting or behaving in a particular way, or the general desire to or willingness of someone to do something. So that's motivation. But we don't always have that motivation. And even when we do have those motivations, we don't always have the desire to see that motivation happen. And it's really hard. Like, it's really hard. So some of the topics that come up with motivation is laziness, the lack of motivation, depression, again, ADHD, and they are completely different things. They can all mask as looking like one thing, but they're separate things.
Well, it's kind of like when you have ADHD and depression, like you can have both. They're two very different things, but you can have their comorbid diseases.
Well, I mean, they say like, you just got all fancy on me there. I was just really impressed, actually, is what it was. I was like, fanciness.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was a good one. I liked it. Okay, explain that more, though, now so I can think more.
Comorbid diseases are kind of just when you have more than one disease. And oftentimes, if you have anxiety, you have something else. Or if you have depression, you have something. There's links between all these different diseases together. So oftentimes, when you have one, you're going to have another. And you don't just have one. So you have like those comorbid.
Like, I know with Ian, with his autism, like they say, like, you'll have one thing that's your main thing, but you have other things that happen because of that central thing. Is it you usually have like a central problem for all of them, or no?
I honestly have no idea.
Okay, so you talked about how everything's separate. So how would you describe your lack of motivation? Like, what happens to you? What manifests for you?
I feel like as a mom and a working mom and all that, you're just so busy all the time. You never get a break. You're always working, or you're always with kids, or you're always this. And I feel like I just have so many things to do that I kind of just shut down, and it makes it so I don't want to do any of it. So I feel like that's what it is for me, is just because I have so much to do, I just shut down and just out of sight, out of mind kind of thing.
That's so true. It definitely is. And I learned a word that you might really appreciate this week when I was kind of trying to research like lack of motivation for like mental health and stuff and how it comes together. One of the topics was, you are going to love this because I keep calling everything my midlife crisis right now. But there's a term called midlife ADHD.
Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, yes, that is so my life. Because it just talks about how, because we have our kids' lives and our spouses' lives, but we have to like focus on all the million things that our kids have going on and all the things our spouses have going on, as well as ourselves. It gets harder to compartmentalize those things and handle them. So we do things like we shut down, and we don't mean to shut down, but like, yeah, like we were always told like, quit being lazy, when you're little. And it's like, I can't help it. Like even right now we're talking about this stuff and I love it, but in my head I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much work to do after this and I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Look, when it comes to work for me, though, if I'm at my work, I can get that done. Like, that isn't a thing. So, like, I can do it if I'm there, but it's when the stuff I have to do at home, the grading, the lesson plan, stuff like that, I have to do it at home, so I'm kind of like, I'm already tired from all the work I did at work.
But anyways, we're talking more about brain derailments as opposed to just, like, motivation, too.
I mean, that's part of it, though, is that we do have brain
executive functioning skills. And, like, at first when I would try and do things for Ian, like getting ready for school, I made, like, lists for my kids in the morning. Because, like, I feel like when we were little, we just knew what to do.
Yeah.
Got up. We never had breakfast, but we would get up and we knew to brush our teeth. We knew to find clothes. We knew if it was cold outside to grab a sweater, get our shoes on, whatever we needed to do. We knew what to do to get to school. And my kids don't do that. And it'll be like time to leave, and even though they're supposed to have all their shoes by the front door, they don't. So I like had a bedtime list for them, which would help them prepare for the next morning. Cause having all ADHD kids pretty much and an ADHD mom, great combo. But teaching them like, okay, step one, you wake up, you get yourself something to eat, you wash your face and the sleep buggies out of your eyes, you brush your teeth or whatever. And it would like walk them through their list to like help them with executive functioning skills. And it still didn't work out quite how I hoped, but it did help a lot with teaching them that sort of stuff.
I mean, I will say for the most part, like, Reagan is pretty good about getting her clothes herself, getting her breakfast. But the boys, I definitely have to lay out their clothes. They know exactly where their clothes are, but if I don't lay them out, you didn't lay out clothes! I can't get them! I can't get the clothes! And then their socks, they always, like, grab their clothes and their socks always fall on the ground, and then they're like, oh, you didn't grab me socks. I'm like, I did grab you socks. And they're like, no. I'm like, even if you don't see the socks, you know exactly where your socks are. But, and then Colin usually has to get them their breakfast, and I have to get their lunch. Their lunch is made and in the fridge, and could they grab it? Yes, they could, but do they? No. I forgot to grab their water bottles the other day, and they're like, Mom, you didn't pack us our water bottles. I'm like, it's in the fridge, ready for you. I get it ready for you the night before. You could easily just go grab it.
Crazy on them one day. So they're so scared of you, they just are like, I gotta remember my water bottle. They have to remember stuff,
Yeah.
I did have a talk with my kids because I mean, they're freaking 15 and 14, and they one day didn't make it to school because I was like really feeling sick, and so I slept in, and I have to set an alarm for everyone to wake them up. Like, I have to go in and do that. And I'm like, by now, I'm like, this is ridiculous. And I was like, your friends are not having any problems. And I know, because I see them when I take Deegan to school, riding their bikes to school, getting to school on time. And they're like, well, you didn't wake me up. And I'm like, that's not an excuse. You can get yourself to school. You're 14 and 15 years old now. Like, come on.
What if you have a permit? You should be able to get yourself up.
What are you going to do? Blame me when you don't make it to work on time? Well, my mom didn't wake me up this morning to get to work. So I don't know what to say, you know? But yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I will say, even as an adult, though, like, it's important for me to have lists to be able to organize what needs to be done. And I even like doing it like, this has to be done today. This can wait till tomorrow. And this is kind of like if I get it done, I get it done list. Mm-hmm. So, I mean.
So lists help you.
Lists help me.
Because that's on my list of motivation is they said making sure you have a schedule and using like lists and things like that to help you.
Yeah. And then I'm the type where if something's not on my list, but I got it done, I write it on my list just so I can cross it off.
Oh, so see? So then you do like little things to award yourself.
Yes.
Too. That's actually some of the things that they said are really important to do. And it's stuff that I'm terrible about it. It's like, how do you tell a person who is very ADHD to write and organize lists and then follow through with it? And I'm terrible at that. Like, no.
Oh, I love it.
I have to have check boxes to remind myself so I don't forget. And I don't even pay attention to my check boxes. It just pops into my head. Or then I have the administrative organizer like, hey, Cammie, did you do this? And I was like, no. I'm like, you're so amazing. I just love you because you're good at this stuff. That's why you're important. She is that amazing.
Like your conversation with yourself?
Yeah, I have it in my head. I'm just like, no. It's like, oh, here, let me catch you this type.
Do you often have conversations with yourself in your head like that?
Yes, you don't. Who doesn't have conversations with themselves like that? They're relevant.
Yeah.
Okay, so schedules being a must. It says one things you can do is you can break things into manageable pieces, set small and realistic goals, check off things that you didn't think but you needed to accomplish, like what you're doing. Work on frustrating tasks for shorter periods of time. I'm terrible at that. Like, I have to, like, when I need to do a project, I have to go in and do that. Another thing about being at work is, like, if I go to an office, to one of my clients' offices, people start coming to me and talking to me, and I love to talk.
Same.
I love talking to people. Same. So I don't actually do what I need to do because I just want to talk to everyone. I love hearing about people's lives. I love hearing about stuff. I just really like it.
So the frustrating thing, like, I can't do it for just a short amount of time. Like, Colin's always telling me, it's like, why don't you just take a break and finish it later? But the thing is, then I have it on my mind, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to hate this later. So then I'm just like, I just have to finish it now, so I get it over with, and then it's done. And so, like, it's hard for me to break it up into small chunks, because I'm one who, it irritates me, and I don't like it, and it's frustrating, I can't break it up.
Or if I do that, if I go to take a break from it, I just stop working on it for days at a time.
Yeah, same.
It's just over and done with.
Yeah. And it's always in the back of my head, but...
Yes, I hate that. I have so many things back here in a to-do list.
I don't like it.
It's like I could just check off the back of my brain of things I haven't done.
That's how our next haircut is, just shaving lists in our head.
And then we can just tap them off.
Yes. Now I don't have to do anything till my hair grows back.
Another thing, which is good because this is something we've tried to incorporate, is getting enough exercise, like our stretching and things like that. But you do things too, like you will just like get up and you said walk around, or like you have to like walk around a lot and take kids around at your school and stuff. And that is those like little breaks are good for your brain. So you are doing that. I don't do it as well, but that's important, is exercise. Like we really need that motivation to move around.
Colin's been doing so good at working out, and it makes me feel bad.
Mike's whole job is working out, so like,
he now wants to get a tonal machine really bad.
Ooh, that would be cool.
But he's like, oh, I don't want to buy it. I'm like, if it will help you, then
like if you're excited about it, and like he's good at committing to things, so I feel like he would really like that.
And he's really good at budgeting to figure out like how he can like budget too.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do not have that.
I do not either.
Unless you tell me we're going on a Disneyland trip, and then man, I'm the most amazing budgeter ever. I will make it happen.
Even then I'm just like, nah, it'll work out.
Oh no. I'm very anxiety ridden like the first few days at Disneyland. And then I never spend all the money I save for it. But yeah, exercise, reward yourself with little accomplishments. I did really good with my eating this week, even though I did have ice cream cake last night, but at the same time. So my Christmas spirit is in this cup. It's with coffee and what's it called?
Peppermint?
Yeah, like peppermint mocha. That's what it is. Yeah.
See, I'm really bad at rewarding myself, but Colin's really good at rewarding me.
Oh my god.
Or just getting stuff for me. He is. Well, this week.
But Mike is too. Like he went and got me Folgers because I was like, we don't have Folgers, so I can have my weekly cup of coffee.
But just this week, because work. He like at one point this week. Work. One day I like just left my classroom just crying in the hallway, and a teacher had to go in there because of how bad it was that day, and I was just crying, and like I just did not want to go back. But just because of how difficult it is and how difficult the climate is in schools right now, like so it's like this anywhere. But he went and got me crumble cookies, and he's like, what crumble cookie do you want? And I was like, oh, I really want 2 of them. And I'm like, I can't decide. And he's like, I'll just get you both. And I was like, oh. And he wouldn't let anyone else eat it. They were mine. And yeah.
And then another thing that like I was thinking about what really helps, and it kind of goes back to our other subject, is talking to friends about this stuff. And it's really hard because you have to have really good friends, because like we were talking about how sometimes we feel like Debbie Downers and about the way we approach things, and we really can't help that, and I feel terrible about that. But I was thinking about it for motivation. It helps to have friends, and I think that's why it's helped talking to you and kind of doing this podcast in general, is because if you can talk to friends who understand your difficulties and stuff, and they really get that, then like you don't feel, I mean, I think you still do, but you don't feel as bad talking to them, because you feel like they won't fault you, and they won't be like, oh, she's not really a Debbie Downer. She just really is struggling, per se. And so they can just help you, let you rant and get through things. But because then they know other times you're going to be hilarious and fun. So yeah, that's another thing that I was thinking about that helps you with like your lack of motivation, is working through things. And I think that's why my job helps me so much, because they all have been there. They all get it. And I think after so many years, like it's been like, 5 years now, they know like how I work. And it's not because I don't want to be there for them or I don't want to do things. It's because like I just really struggle with motivation. And yeah, I don't necessarily think like, we have ADHD, like the brain laziness, but it's not because we're like actually lazy and don't want to do things. It is a lack of motivation. And I know someone wrote like lack of motivation is like a lack of passion, but I don't think it's not that you're not like, I guess it could be, but I'm not necessarily not passionate about my work. I'm definitely like to be a perfectionist. That's really hard on me when I don't feel like things are perfect or I don't understand things perfectly. But I mean, we definitely do like things to be nice and our best work, and it's hard to focus on things. And so instead of like just like being able to zone in and start doing your work, it just really takes a lot. And so we definitely are procrastinators because we can definitely lack motivation, and you have to do normal things in life that you're not always passionate about. And so I think that's hard for people who have mental illness, and definitely for people who are ADHD. You know, like Ian, for instance, he's autistic and he has ADHD too. But for a lot of times, like he's really good about a lot of things, especially as he's getting older. And I think he gets that from his dad, because Mike, being ADHD, doesn't have problems getting things done if it just needs to be done. And I feel like Ian takes after Mike in that regard.
What is that like?
I don't know. Okay. So yeah, so it's good to have friends and stuff that help you rant.
I love it.
Oh, so yeah. So tell us what I'd be interested to know what people think is important and what you do to help with your lack of motivation and things like that, because we do have people who follow now and are messaging me and telling me about it.
Yay!
Yeah.
And then also, if you're new, don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yes.
Click that bell on YouTube.
Well, and also just plus in podcasts so you can follow. Yeah. One of the things I got asked is if we would do like a live thing to like talk to, you know what I mean? Like, like take questions and things like that. I'm like, we have to have more than like 15 listeners for that. So what's our new goal for the week? We'll say 15 minutes not being bothered, and we have to be reading for those 15 minutes.
Sounds good.
Okay. I get lost. Like 15 minutes though is nothing for me for reading. Like,
same.
I want to keep reading.
Once I get into a book, then I have to like, I can't stop.
Oh yeah, that's hard. That's part of our thing. We have to like focus and zone in.
Because I want to know what happens.
I reread a lot of the same books because I love them.
Oh, I can't reread books.
It's like rewatching the same shows you love for me.
Oh yeah, that's what I do.
Yeah. You just haven't read a book then that you love that much. I read Pride and Prejudice.
No, it just if I know what's going to happen, then
you reread Harry Potter.
I have reread Harry Potter.
Yeah,
that's the one thing I've reread.
Okay, all right, awesome. I love you.
I love you.
So smile,
be happy,
and spread happy.